Hello friends, welcome back to VOW IAS. Welcome to the Prelims test series discussion of Vision IAS, and now we are going to start with the third Prelims test. Hope you have seen the first two test discussion and that has benefited you. If you have any queries or any suggestions, do leave in the comment box. We will get back to you. Now in this part we will discuss from question number 1 to question number 35. So let's quickly begin. This is part 1. So first question is on the red soil. So red soil, if you see, it develops on the crystalline igneous rocks of low rainfall in southern and eastern part of Deccan. Yellow and red soils in part of Chhattisgarh and Odisha, in southern parts of Middle Gangetic Plain. They are all part of it. The red is due to the wide diffusion of iron in hydrated form. It looks yellow. So the red is because of the iron, and the hydrated iron makes the soil color yellow. The fine grained red and yellow soils are fertile, whereas in the dry upland, it has poor fertility due to the coarse grained structure. They are poor in humus, phosphorus and nitrogen. Okay, so it is rich in iron and all, but poor in humus, phosphorus and nitrogen. Now let's see the second question. The second question is on the Khelo India centers. The Khelo India program, if you see, it is launched to revive the sports culture in India at grassroots level. It is a central sector scheme of the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs. It aims to set up 1000 Khelo India centers across all the districts. That is the main aim. And the talented players in various sports disciplines will get about 5 lakh rupees per annum for about 8 years. So what this will do is, this will develop the sporting culture in the country. This will provide the financial support that is required for all the sports persons, because they need a lot of support for the training, for the diet, for all these things. And following are the major indigenous traditional games that have been identified. The first one is Mallakhamb in Madhya Pradesh. It's combination of yoga, gymnastics, martial arts. Kalariyapattu, Kerala. See, this question came in 2016 or 17 regarding Kalariyapattu. So just know all these things. It's a Kalariyapattu of Kerala is a martial art. Thangta of Manipur. So this is also the traditional martial art of that region. Gatka in Punjab. Gatka is a stick fight between two or more practitioners with wooden sticks intended to simulate sports. And next is Yogasana. So Yogasana, as the name suggests, it is related to yoga. A seated posture in yoga used for meditation, such as the basic cross-legged position, the Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana, etc. Next is Silamban, Tamil Nadu. It's a weapon-based Indian martial art, but also traditionally practiced by Tamil community of Sri Lanka and Malaysia. So this is about the various martial arts. Now let's see the next question. The black soil. So, as in the first question we have seen red soil, now here black soil is given. And black soil, if you see, it is a clayey, deep and impermeable. It swells and becomes sticky when wet and shrink when dried. In the dry season, it develops wide cracks. Thus, they show self-ploughing. So, which soil shows self-ploughing? It is the black soil. It retains moisture for a very long time, and it helps crops to sustain during the dry season. The black soil is also called as the black cotton soil. Cotton grows well in this black soil. This black soil is rich in lime, iron, magnesia, alumina. It also contains potash, but they lack in phosphorus, nitrogen and organic matter. So see, black soil lacks phosphorus, nitrogen, organic matter. The red soil, it also lacks humus, phosphorus, nitrogen. So most of the Indian soils, they are almost poor in phosphorus and nitrogen. Most of the soils. Okay. And the alluvial soil, if you see, it is widespread in northern plains and river valleys. It covers 40% of total area of the country. The black soil covers almost the Deccan Plateau, that is parts of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, some parts of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu as well. All these regions consist of this black soil, and the black soil is also called as the black cotton soil. It is rich in lime, iron, magnesium, alumina, and it is poor in phosphorus, nitrogen and organic matter. Now let's go to the fourth question. The fourth question is about the warm temperate eastern margin climate, and this is also called as the China type of climate. In the GC Leong, you will find all the types of climates and their comparison. So if you see this China type of climate, the features, if you see, it is influenced by onshore trade winds all around the year without any monsoon variations. Its distribution is fairly uniform. The rainfall distribution throughout the year, means there is rain every month. It is also called Gulf type, natal type of climate. It is found on the eastern margins of the continents in warm temperate latitudes just outside tropics as seen in the figure here. Okay, so here you can find this type of climate on the eastern margins. Next, fifth question, if you see, temperature inversion. So temperature inversion, what does it mean? Normally, if you see, there will be decrease in temperature as you go up. As you go up, the temperature decreases. Temperature inversion means the reverse. There will be increase in temperature as you go up. So when does this happen? If you see, so various reasons, why does it happen, when does it happen, we will see all of that. And here first thing given is the normal lapse rate, that is temperature decreases with increase in elevation. This is normal. And inverted means at times the normal lapse rate is inverted, that is the temperature increases with increase in altitude. When does it happen? A long winter night with clear skies and still air is ideal situation for inversion. Over polar areas, a temperature inversion is normal throughout the year. Next, the inversion, it promotes stability in lower areas of atmosphere. The smoke and dust particles get collected beneath this inversion layer and spread horizontally to fill the strata of atmosphere. The dense fog in mornings, which is common during winters, lasts for few hours until the sun comes up and begins the earth to warm. The inversion takes place in the hills, mountains due to the air drainage. The cold air at the hills produced during the nights flows under the influence of gravity. Being dense, it moves downslope to pile up, and it's deeply in the pocket and the valley bottoms with warm air above. This is called air drainage. It protects plant from frost damages. So what does this mean? See, I'll just explain here. Just a second. Yeah. So what it is saying is that. So let's say this is the hill, and during daytime when there is sun, everything gets heated, and here you will have warm air, and even this also will be warm. The hill also will be warm. So during night, let's say now it is night. So during night, what will happen is that the air, or you can say this hill, it becomes cool faster, because as you know, land cools faster than the air. So this cools. And also, if you see here at the top altitude, you will have much cooler. You will have air which is much cooler, the air which is closer to this top. And here at the lower altitude, the air will be a bit warm. All the air will be warm. So here, as the lower air at that top altitude, which is cold, it will start moving downwards. Why it will start moving downwards? The first is under the influence of gravity, and second thing is, if you see, the cold air is highly dense. So because of this density difference, the warm air here, it will move towards this region, and the cold air, which is highly dense, will move downwards. Because of this movement, what will happen is that there will be temperature inversion. That means the lower air is warm, but whereas the lower air is cold, whereas the upper air is warm. And as the upper air is warm, you will see the plants especially, they will be protected from the frost damages, because the lower air is already cold, whereas the upper air is warm. So this difference actually helps the plant to grow. This will not let the plants to die because of the frost and all. Okay. So this is about the temperature inversion. Next, if you see India's geography, the area is 3.28 million square kilometers, 2.4% of world's land, 7th largest country in the world. The longitudinal and latitudinal extent, if you see, 30 degrees is the latitudinal extent. The mainland extends from 8 degrees 4 minutes north to 37 degrees 17 minutes north, and the latitudes, and 68 degrees 7 minutes east to 97 degrees 24 minutes east longitudes. So this is the geography of India. So if there's a question anywhere, you can just identify with this data. Next, some important phenomena. First is conduction. So conduction is nothing but Earth, after being heated by insolation, transmits heat to atmosphere. The layer near the Earth in a long waveform, the air is in contact with the land, gets heated slowly, and upper layers in contact with the lower layers also get heated. So energy flows from warm body to the cold body. So it's like when two bodies are in contact with each other, there will be transfer of energy, and that is called as conduction. Now next is convection. Convection means the air in contact with the earth rises vertically on heating in the form of currents and transmits heat of the atmosphere. The vertical heating of the atmosphere. So this transfer of energy is confined only to troposphere, and this is called as convection. Generally, conduction, on most days we will be seeing the heat transfer when anything is in contact with a solid body. That means because of direct contact. But whereas in convection, we will see this heat transfer because of the you can say because of the movement of these waves. Okay, because of movement of these waves and currents, in simple words. Next is advection. Advection is the transfer of heat through horizontal movement of air. In mid latitudes, most of the diurnal, that is day and night variations in daily weather, are also caused by advection. In tropical regions, the advection causes lu. Okay, so this is advection. So these are conduction, convection, and advection. And also another thing what you have is radiation. Radiation, which we will discuss when there is a question on it. Next, the 8th question is on Indian Peninsula. So Indian Peninsula, if you see, it is formed by great complex and very ancient gneisses and granites, and that constitute a major part of it. Since the Cambrian period, the peninsula has been standing like a rigid block. As a part of Indian-Australian plate, it has been subjected to various vertical movements and block faulting. The rift valleys of Narmada, Tapi and Mahanadi and Satpura block mountains are some of the examples of it. The peninsula consists of the relict and residual mountains like Aravali, Nellamalla, Javadi, Virikonda, Penikonda, Mahendragiri hills, etc. And various river valleys here are also shallow with low gradient. This is about in the peninsular part of India. And if you see the northern boundary, the irregular line running from the Kutch along the western flank of Aravalli range near Delhi and then parallel to the Ganga Yamuna as far as Rajmahal hills and Ganga delta. The Karbi Anglong and Meghalaya plateau in the northeast and Rajasthan in the west are extension of this block. The northeastern part are separated by the Malda fault in West Bengal from the Chota Nagpur plateau. In Rajasthan, the deserts overlay this block. Okay, this is about the northern boundary. Next, ocean currents, like river flows in the ocean. So the currents are influenced by two types of forces: the primary forces that initiate movement of water, the secondary forces that influence currents to flow. The primary forces, if you see, the primary force is caused by heating by the solar energy, wind, gravity and the Coriolis force. The heating by the sun causes the water to expand. Thus, near the equator, ocean water is 8 centimeters higher in the level than compared to that of the other latitudes, that is in mid latitudes. The wind blowing on the surface of ocean, the friction between wind and water surface affects movement of water body in its course. The gravity pulls water down to pile up and create the gradient variation. The Coriolis force intervenes and causes water to move to right in the northern hemisphere and towards the left in the southern hemisphere. These produce large circular currents in all the ocean basins. The difference in water density affect vertical mobility of currents. The water with high salinity is deeper than water with low salinity, and the cold water is dense than the warm water. The denser water tends to sink while the light water tends to rise. The cold ocean current occur when cold water at the poles sinks and move towards the equator. The warm water or the warm current travels out from the equator along the surface, flowing towards the poles to replace the cold water, which is moving towards the equator. The topography and shape of the ocean basins influence the ocean currents. So these are the things. So ocean currents, if you see these currents, it is because of a lot of reasons. The waves and currents, they are two different things. The waves and currents are two different things. The wave is generally the superficial thing which occurs on the surface, but whereas the currents, they occur deep inside. The currents occur due to various internal forces like solar energy, wind, gravity, Coriolis force, etc. And if you see, the waves do not move the water. The water from one area do not move to the other area. But if you see, this movement of water from one area to the other happens only because of the currents. So we can see how the cold current move from pole to equator. The cold current move from pole to equator, whereas the warm current moves the water from equator to pole. So this huge movement happens only due to the currents. Okay, so the Coriolis force, the wind, the gravity, all of these things, the density difference, all of these things will affect the currents. Next, 10th question, factors affecting decomposition of organic matter. The moisture, if you see, The maximum decomposition is at intermediate level of moisture in soil. The soil gas exchange will be limited in higher moisture, in the high moisture leading to low oxygen concentration and anaerobic conditions. The low moisture limits microbial metabolism. Both high and low moisture conditions inhibit decomposition process. Oxygen, if you see, the organisms depend on oxygen for respiration and reproduction. And they cannot multiply in hypoxic conditions, that is a lack of oxygen. Thus, oxygen will lead to increase in decomposition. The decomposition will be faster if the detritus is rich in nitrogen and water-soluble substances like sugars, slower if detritus is rich in the lignin and chitin. Temperature, if you see, the cool temperature inhibit decomposition and piles up the organic content in the soil. Soil pH influences the plant growth by affecting the activity of beneficial microorganisms. The bacteria like rhizobia that decompose soil organic matter are hindered in the strong acidic conditions. This is the thing about the factors affecting the decomposition of organic matter. Next, peninsular India. Just now we have seen some geography and some more is given here. The peninsular India has 5 river systems, important river systems. They are Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Pennar and Kaveri. It is triangular in shape. The apex of the triangular plateau is at Kanyakumari, which is in Tamil Nadu. And most peninsular rivers, they flow from west to east. That means there is a general slope gradient from west to east. The Narmada Tapi is the exception, which flows from east to west in a rift caused by the divergent boundary. The peninsular plateau is one of the oldest and stable landforms of the earth. And the geology and climate of peninsular India, if you see, geology and climate, the rocks of peninsular plateau of India are extended towards north, the northeast beyond the Rajmahal hills and form a rectangular block known as Meghalaya or Shillong plateau. And this plateau has been separated from the main block by the Garo Rajmahal gap. So this is the thing about the peninsular India. Now let's see the next question, the 12th question, which is on the plains. So if you see the plains, the various plains, if you see, so the Peeny plain, the PD plain, the structural plain and the coastal plain. These are the 4 kinds of plains. And the Peeny plains are their erosional plains carved by agents of erosion. They are almost plain, hence called as Peeny plain. Next, PD plain, they are erosional plains, mechanical weathering in arid and semi-arid areas, in the areas that wears black mountain slopes to leaving sloping PD plains, but steep hill slopes they remain called as Inselbergs. Next, the structural plains, structurally depressed areas of the world, the natural lowlands on earth. It includes the Russian platforms, the Great Plains of US, central lowlands of Australia and all. Next, the coastal plains. The coastal plains are generally the depositional plains because of the rivers and all. In the coastal regions, the waves and winds often drive beach materials and the mud, sand or the single landwards and deposit them on the coastal plains to form the marine swamps, mudflats, tidals, estuary, lowlands, etc. So not only because of this depositional, even the other plains they are formed because of this. So generally in any landform we have erosional and depositional landforms. Okay. Next, types of erosion. So water erosion it causes sheet and gully erosion. The sheet erosion, it causes on the level lands after a heavy shower and soil removal is not easily noticeable. Next, gully erosion. The gully erosion is very common on the steep slopes. The gullies deepen with the rainfall. They cut agricultural lands into small fragments and make them unfit for cultivation. The region with a large number of deep gullies or the ravines is known as the badland topography. So these are the types of erosional landforms and their causes. Okay. So this is the 13th question. Now let's go to the 14th question. The 14th question is on the sedimentary thing. The sedimentary. The word sedimentary is derived from the sediment. Sediment means the settling. The rocks, that is igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic of the earth's surface are exposed to denudation agents, that is wind, water, etc. and they're broken up into various fragments transported by different exogenous agencies and deposits. These deposits via the compaction turns into rocks called as lithification. And the sedimentary rocks, they form several layers of varying thickness like the sandstone, shale, etc. Next, winter season India. So winter season India extends from November to March. It is characterized by development of high pressure in the region north of Himalayas. This center of high pressure gives rise to the flow of air at low levels from north towards the Indian subcontinent and south of mountain range. All the western and central Asia remains under the influence of westerly jet streams along the altitude of 9 to 13 kilometers from west to east. The southern branch of the jet stream influences winters in India. The western cyclonic disturbances enter the Indian subcontinent from the west and northwest during the winter months. The tropical cyclone originates over the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. An easterly jet stream flows over the southern part of the peninsula in the summer month of June. Okay, so this is about the winter season in India. Next, the 16th question is on the jet streams and upper air circulation during summer. So, if you see here the easterly jet stream, it is a dominant feature of the northern hemispheric summer over the South Asia and North Africa. It is found between 5 degrees to 20 degrees north, flows from east to west over the peninsular India at 6 to 9 kilometers and over the North Africa. It reverses the upper air circulation patterns, the high pressure switches to low pressure and leads to quick onset of monsoon. It also steers the tropical depression in India, helping distribution of monsoon over the Indian subcontinent. The tracks of these depression are the areas of highest rainfall, and they flow over the southern part of peninsula in June and has a maximum speed of 90 km per hour. In August, it is confined to 15 degree north latitude, and in September up to 22 degree north latitude, and it do not extend to 30 degree north latitude. Its influence keep on increasing towards the north during the southwest monsoon period. So this is about it. Next, the 17th question, it is on the social forestry. Social forestry is nothing but the management and protection of forest and deforestation on the barren land for helping in environmental, social and rural development. So the management and the protection of the forest and deforestation on barren land for helping environment, social and rural development. This is called social forestry. The National Commission on Agriculture 1976 classified it into three categories: urban forestry, rural forestry and agroforestry. Urban forestry means managing of trees on the public and private lands around the urban centers like green belts, parks, roadside avenues, industrial complexes, etc. The rural forestry means the emphasis on the promotion of agroforestry and community forestry. What is agroforestry? Agroforestry is raising agricultural crops along with forestry, raising trees and agricultural crops on the same land, and including the waste patches. Community forestry means raising the trees, that is a lot of trees and all, on the public or community lands such as village pasture and temple lands, roadside, canal banks, strip along the railway lines, schools, etc. And next you have the farm forestry. Forestry means farmers growing trees for commercial and non-commercial purposes on their farmlands. Directly on the farmlands, if the farmer grows the trees, then that is called as farm forestry. Next, 18th question, this is on tides. So tides, if you see, since tides are caused by the earth, moon, sun position, they can be predicted in advance. Tide flows, they are very important in the navigation. Okay, so tides, if you see, generally they are caused by the gravitational pull of sun and moon. And there are a lot of importance for these tides. The commercial fishermen follow the tides and learn to fish during the levels of highest concentration to improve their economic investment. The tides affect the reproductive activity of the fish and plants. They help remove pollutants and circulate nutrients across the oceans, which is important for the plants and animals to survive. The crabs, mussels, snails, seaweed and other edible sea life inhabit in the tidal areas. The tides affect the depth and current in and around the coast. The ships may need to navigate water during high tide, and in some areas there is a risk of running aground also. Too high and too low tides occur during the 24-hour period. The predictability of the tides, the faster movement of water during inflow and outflow provides source of renewable energy to the communities living along the coast. This is about tides. Next, the Boltzmann Medal 2022. The Boltzmann Medal 2022 is to be given to the AU alumnus and the renowned physicist and emeritus faculty of the Indian Institute of Science and Education Research, Pune, Deepak Dhar, and he is the first Indian ever to be awarded this honor. So Boltzmann Medal is basically to the AU alumnus and renowned physicist and the eminent faculty, Dr. Deepak Dhar. The Boltzmann medal, if you see, it is set up by the Commission on the Statistical Physics of International Union and Pure and Applied Physics. Consists of the gilded Boltzmann medal with inscription of Austrian physicist and philosopher Ludwig Boltzmann, given once in 3 years. Next, the Northern Plains. Northern Plains, if you see, they are the largest part of the Northern Plain, and it is formed of older alluvium. They lie above the floodplains of the river and present a terrace-like feature called the Bhangar. Its soil consists calcareous deposits called Kankar. Newer or younger deposits of the floodplains are called Khadar, and they are renewed every year and are fertile and ideal for intensive agriculture. So here what it is saying is that the Northern Plains, it is generally made of this old alluvium. The Northern Plain is one of the most fertile region, and this old alluvium lie above the floodplain of the river and present a terrace-like feature called the Bhangar. So Khadar and Bhangar, where you will see in the Northern Plains. The younger deposits are called Khadar, whereas the older deposits are called Bhangar. Remember this: old Bhangar, new Khadar. Okay, OB, remember something like this. And the Bhangar consists of the calcareous deposits called Kankar. So Kankar is present in the old ones, that is Bhangar. Next, 21st one, the stalagmite and the stalactite. So basically, if you see, these are nothing but the deposits in the caves. These are the calcium deposits. The stalactite, if you see, they hang on the isles of different diameters from ceiling of the underground cave. They are broad at their base and taper towards the free end, showing up in a variety of form. The stalagmite means they rise up from the floor of the caves. That means if it is from top to bottom, it is called stalactite. Stalagmite means it is from bottom to top. They form due to the dripping of water from the surface or through the thin pipe of stalactite immediately below it. They may take the shape of a column or a disc with either smooth, rounded bulge end or the miniature crater like the depression. Okay, so this is about stalagmite and stalactite. Next, 22nd question. This is on the Asiatic lines. And the Gujarat Forest Department, it is planning to use the SIMBA, or the software with intelligence marking based identification of Asiatic lions. This is the identification software. This is basically designed to distinguish patterns or marks by the Hyderabad based firm Tilo Labs. Asiatic lions, if you see, they are according to the IUCN, they are endangered. And the Asiatic lions in Gir and protected areas of the Saurashtra in Gujarat is the world's only wild population of lions outside Africa. So how to remember Simba? So you all might have known this movie Lion King. So like that you can remember Simba. Simba is a software for identification of lions. Let's move on to the 23rd question, which is on India's civil nuclear agreement. So India has decided to build nuclear power plant in the fleet mode from 2023 over the 5 years from the first pour of concrete. Currently, India operates 22 reactors with a total capacity of 6,780 megawatts. So it is important to recognize exceptional record that India holds in the global civil nuclear domain, given its status as a non-signatory of NPT and its non-membership in NSG. So NPT is the non-proliferation treaty which India did not sign, and NSG is the nuclear supplier group. India is also not part of this. But India made agreement with various countries. Like India made agreement with 14 countries, in fact: Argentina, Australia, Canada, Czech Republic, Japan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Namibia, Russia, South Korea, UK, US, Vietnam, and so on. This is basically for the uranium supply and so on. India's Civil Nuclear Accord aims to develop mutually beneficial economic, scientific and technical cooperation for peaceful uses of nuclear energy. A central tenet of this agreement is focus on peaceful purpose of nuclear power. Currently, there is no collaboration between India and Israel on the nuclear energy. There is no collaboration. Remember this. But India is collaborating with countries like Australia, US, Japan, Kazakhstan, and so on. So this is about India's civil nuclear agreements. Now let's see the next question. The 24th question is on El Nino. El Nino is a standard question that will come once in every few years. So El Nino, if you see, it means child Christ, as it appears around December. December is a summer month. In fact, in Peru, that is in the southern hemisphere, even in Australia, you will find the summer. That's why generally cricket happens in December in Australia. In almost every 3 to 7 years, This sets in warm currents off the Peru coast in eastern Pacific and affects weather in many places including India. So this El Nino is an extension of the warm equatorial current. It gets replaced temporarily by the cold Peruvian current or the Humboldt current. So near the Peruvian coast, we will have the warm current, and near Australia, we will have the cold current. Because of this, what will happen? Near the Peru, the temperature increases by about 10 degrees centigrade, and there will be heavy rainfall. There will be distortion of the equatorial atmospheric circulation. There will be irregularities in evaporation of seawater. There will be reduction in the amount of plankton, reduction in number of fish. All these things will happen. And this is also used in India for forecasting the long range monsoon rainfall, because the El Nino will lead to decrease in the rainfall or sometimes failure in the monsoon in various parts of the country in 1991, 98, 2006, 7, 15, 16 and so on. Next, 25th question is on the Kuroshio current. The Kuroshio current, if you see, it begins off on the east coast of Philippines and Taiwan and flows northeast past Japan, where it merges with easterly drift of the North Pacific current. The warm westerly boundary current of the North Pacific subtropical gyre. The ocean gyre, if you see, it's a large system of circular ocean current formed by global wind patterns and forces created by the earth rotation. So ocean gyre is something like this inside the ocean. So circulating motion of water inside the ocean, that is called as ocean gyre, and this is caused by wind patterns and the forces of earth rotation. So one of the major forces of the earth rotation, you can say Coriolis force. Yes, it is true. That will also act on the water. It is analogous to the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic Ocean. Its warm water are carried polewards as the North Pacific drift, keeping ports of the Alaskan coast ice free in winters. Okay, so that means it ensures that the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic Ocean, okay, it is analogous to it, and its warm waters are carried polewards as North Pacific drift, keeping the ports of the Alaska ice free in winters, because generally the winters are very harsh. So this current ensures that the ports near to that Alaskan region is ice free. So this is about the Kuroshio current. Next question, the 26th question is on various passes. So what is a pass? Pass is nothing but a stretch of land passing through the mountains that connects two different regions. Okay, so that means if two mountains are there, if there is this stretch of land through the mountain that is connecting two different regions, that is called as pass. Different pass, if you see, the Zojila Pass, the famous Zojila Pass, the high mountain pass of Jammu and Kashmir, located between Srinagar and Leh in the western Himalayan mountain range. It separates Kashmir Valley to its west from the Dras Valley to its northeast. Next, Baralachla in Zaskar range, connecting Lahul district in Himachal to Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir. Next, Shipkila Pass, the mountain pass on the Indo-China border in the Kinnaur district of Himachal Pradesh. The Satluj enters India near to this pass. Next, Jalipla Pass, between Sikkim and Tibet. Jalipla between Sikkim and Tibet. Shipkila between, you can see here in the Himachal Pradesh, in fact. Nathula in Sikkim. Remember Nathula in Sikkim, and it forms part of the offshoot of the ancient Silk Road. Next, Bolan Pass. Bolan Pass is the mountain pass through the Toba Kakar range of Balochistan. So Bolan Pass in Balochistan. Remember this. Next, Khyber Pass. Khyber Pass is very famous. It is north of Pakistan, close to the border with Afghanistan. It travels through the Spinghar mountains. So why this is famous is that various invaders like Muhammad Ghazni, Ghori, and all the Turkic and Mongol invaders, they came to this Indo-Pak region through this Khyber Pass. So that's why it's very famous. So Zojila Pass between Srinagar and Leh in Kashmir. It separates Kashmir Valley to the west from Dras Valley to the northeast. Zojila in Kashmir between Srinagar and Leh. Baralachla in Zaskar range, connecting Lahul in Himachal to Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir. Himachal, okay, Lahul and Ladakh, Baralachla. Shipkila in Himachal Pradesh. Jalipla between Sikkim and Tibet. Nathula in Sikkim. Bolan in Balochistan. Khyber Pass in Pakistan. Okay, so these are the important passes. Now let's go on to the next question, which is based on droughts. So drought, as you all know, is nothing but lack of rainfall, the dry conditions, that is called as drought. So there are various kinds of droughts. The first is hydrological drought. Hydrological, as the name suggests, hydrology, water. When the availability of water is in the different storages and reservoirs like aquifers, lakes, reservoirs, etc., falls below what precipitation can replenish. That is called as hydrological drought. Next, meteorological drought, as the name suggests, meteorology. Okay, so in a prolonged period of time of if there is inadequate rainfall, marked with a mild distribution of same over time and space. So that is called as meteorological drought. Next, agricultural or soil moisture drought. The low soil moisture is necessary to support crops, resulting in crop failures. If an area has more than 30% of the gross cropped area under irrigation, the area is excluded from the drought-prone category. Next, the ecological drought. When the productivity of a natural ecosystem fails due to the shortage of water and ecological distress, the damages are induced in the ecosystem. That is called as ecological drought. Okay, so hydrological means lack of water in the storages. Meteorological drought means it's a prolonged period of time over a space there is no rainfall. That is called as meteorological drought. Agriculture means the soil moisture is low, and if an area has more than 30% of its cropped area under irrigation, and the area is excluded from the drought prone category. Remember this as well. And next is ecological means when the productivity of the natural ecosystem fails due to shortage of water. These are the various kinds of droughts, remember. Next, the 28th question. This is on the extratropical cyclones, the wave cyclones, and the mid-latitude cyclones. The storm system formed in the middle or the high latitudes in the region of large horizontal temperature variations called frontal zones. They develop when a wave form on the front separates on the frontal surface separates a warm mass from the cold air. So thus the extratropical cyclones form along the polar front. In the northern hemisphere, the warm air blows from the south and cold air from the north of front. When the pressure drops along the front, the warm air moves northwards and cold air moves towards the south, setting in motion an anti-clockwise cyclonic circulation, and then it forms. So this extratropical cyclone generally covers a large area and can originate over land and sea. The wind velocity is much higher and destructive, and the extratropical cyclones move from west to east in the northern hemisphere. So here you can see these are two fronts. And here between the two fronts it starts and then it moves. Next, 29th question is on the Coriolis force. Coriolis force is the force due to the rotation of the earth about its axis, affecting the direction of the wind. And the Coriolis force was found in 1844 by a French physicist. It deflects wind in right direction in northern hemisphere and to the left in southern hemisphere. The deflection is more when wind velocity is high. The Coriolis force is directly proportional to the angle of latitude. It is maximum at poles and is absent at the equator in fact. So that's why you generally will be seeing this horse latitude in the tropical region. Horse latitude will be in the tropical region. And the Coriolis force, if you see, it acts perpendicular to the pressure gradient force. It is perpendicular to the pressure gradient force. That is perpendicular to the isobars. At equator, the Coriolis force is 0, and as we have just discussed, it is maximum at poles. And wind blows perpendicular to the isobars. The low pressure gets filled instead of getting intensified. Thus, tropical cyclones are not formed near the equator because of the lack of Coriolis force. So that's why in the tropical cyclones we have seen. So along with temperature of about 27 degrees centigrade, we need Coriolis force to exist because that will ensure movement of the wind. In the north it is north it is anti-clockwise, in the south it is clockwise. Okay. Next, the 30th question. This is on the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau, if you see, it is bounded by Western Ghats, which is comparatively at a higher, in elevation and more continuous than Eastern Ghats. The increase in height from north to south, we can see, it is known by Sahyadri in Maharashtra, Nilgiri in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Annamalai and Cardamom Hills in Kerala. Most of the peninsular rivers originate here, in the Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri and all. The Eastern Ghats, if you see, they are lower in height and are discontinuous. The height generally is eroded by various rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, etc., which forms their deltas. So the important ranges, if you see, Javadi Hills, Palkonda Hills, Nallamala Hills, Mahendragiri Hills, etc. Eastern and Western Ghats generally meet at Nilgiri. So Eastern and Western Ghats, where they meet at Nilgiri. So Western Ghats means they are relatively higher. Eastern Ghats are generally lower. They are generally eroded. The Western Ghats are eroded by these huge rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, etc. Next, 31st question is on deserts. The first one is Mojave Desert. The Mojave Desert, if you see, it's a arid rain shadow and driest desert in the North America. The southwestern US, within the southeast California and South Nevada, it extends from the Sierra Nevada range to the Colorado Plateau and merges with the Great Basin to the north and the Sonoran Desert to the south. Next, you have the Patagonian Desert. The Patagonian Desert is the largest desert in Argentina, bounded by the Andes in the west and Atlantic Ocean in the east. In Patagonia, South Argentina. To north of the desert grades into the CO region and the Pampas. The central part are dominated by the shrubby and herbaceous plants, the herbaceous plant species, albeit to the west. Where precipitation is higher, the bushes are replaced by the grasses. The western parts of the steppe host lake of the glacial origin and the grade into the barren mountains or cold temperate forest along the valleys. Next, you have the Gibson Desert. The Gibson Desert is a arid zone in the interior of Western Australia. It lies to the south of Tropic of Cancer, between the Great Sandy and Great Victoria. The features, they are undulating red dunes, the desert pavement, sandy plains, and triodia. It is a fire-prone landscape. So Gibson Desert, Australia, the Patagonia in Argentina, and the other one, what we have seen, the Mojave Desert in America, in North America. So these three deserts. Next, 32nd question. 32nd question is on the equator. The equator, if you see, it passes through 13 countries. Kiribati in Australia and Oceania. Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil in South America. Sao Tome and Principe. Gabon, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Uganda, Somalia in Africa. Maldives and Indonesia in Asia. So remember, in Asia, it passes through Maldives and Indonesia. The equator doesn't pass through India. Next, 33rd question is on the clouds. So various types of clouds. The cumulus clouds. Cumulus clouds generally are vertical clouds. They are vertical clouds with a round top and horizontal base, seen in humid tropical region. They are cumulus. They are associated with convectional currents. It's great while the globular masses may look grey against the sun, but it's fair weathered cloud. The cirrus or mare's tails. They are fibrous and appears like the wisp in blue sky. They indicates the fair weather and gives a brilliant sunset. The nimbostratus. The nimbostratus are dark, dull clouded, clearly layered, and is also known as the rain cloud. It brings continuous rain, snow and sleet. Next, cumulonimbus or thundercloud. So the overgrown cumulus cloud extending from the base of 2000 feet to over 3000 feet. Its black and white globular masses take fantastic range of shapes. It's cauliflower topped shaped, spread out like anvil, seen in the tropical afternoons, and they bring out the convectional rains along with lightning and thunder. So cumulus, cirrus, nimbostratus and cumulonimbus. These are the various clouds. Next, Himalayas. 34th question is on Himalayas. The Himalayas consist of three parallel ranges. The Great Himalayas or Inner Himalayas. The Himadri, as it remained covered with snow throughout the year. It includes the highest peak, that is the Mount Everest. Okay, the Mount Everest, which is about 8,000 meters, more than 8,800 meters. Nanampura in Nepal, Nanga Parbat in Kashmir, and also highest peak in India, Kanchenjunga. So the Himadri or the uppermost Himalayas, they have the Greater Himalayas. Next, you have the Himadri, Himachal, and Shivalik. These are the three important ones in the Himalayas, three important ranges. And in the Himadri, the number of glaciers descending from the inner Himalayas, such as Gangotri and Yamunotri, lie in Uttarakhand. They are a perennial source of water for Ganga and Yamuna, especially. So this is about the Himalayas. Next, the Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer is the imaginary line at 23.5 degrees, which is north of the equator, and that passes via middle of India. It passes through 17 countries. Equator, just now we have seen, passes through 13 countries, whereas Tropic of Cancer passes through 17 countries, more than equator. It passes through 8 states in India: Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Tripura and Mizoram. So 17 countries. And Mahi, if you see, it is the only river in India that cuts this Tropic of Cancer twice. First in Madhya Pradesh, from where it flows towards Rajasthan and enter into Gujarat, where it cuts this Tropic of Cancer for the second time, Mahi. It is a west flowing river. Udaipur in Tripura is nearest to the Tropic of Cancer. Okay, so this is about the Tropic of Cancer. So these are the 35 questions for the day. Tomorrow we will meet again and discuss some more questions. So that's it guys from my side. I'll see you again with some more MCQs tomorrow. But before I leave, a small information. So we provide summaries for Vision Prelims Test Series, Vision Mains Test Series and Vision Monthly Magazine. So these summaries are available to you at a very affordable price. So what they will do, they will ensure that you cover the content in minimal time and do maximum revision. You can also use these videos to supplement your content from these documents. And the document that we are using for the discussion, if you can see, is the summary document prepared by us. These summaries will summarize the entire content in a very, very short way. So just make the best use of these. Do get back to us if you have any queries. Do check out Telegram channel. So we will even leave the link of the Telegram channel in the description. You can join our Telegram channel. Okay. So that's it guys from my side. I'll see you again tomorrow with some more MCQs. Till then, keep studying. Stay tuned. Jai Hind.